Hi and welcome to Patreon video for September 2019. You gotta, if you hear my voice cracking, I'm kind of losing my voice. I don't know. I think I may have caught a cold or something. I'm not sure quite what that is, but bear with me. This month's been a pretty hectic month. I've had two birthdays to deal with, a belated anniversary trip, and Labor Day, which kind of messed up my schedule a little bit at work, which made work a lot more hectic. Yeah, if you don't know, whenever we have a day off, they don't really change the schedule. We just have less time to do the work. It's almost like our like the day off is a punishment, which means that when I get back to work, it's usually pretty hectic. So let me just talk about what you're going to be receiving as rewards this month. So I managed to light all of the comics. So last month I finished flatting the comic, and then I began lighting it. And this month I finished lighting it, and then I've begun coloring it. But since I started coloring in September, you won't be able to get the colored stuff until next month. So this month I'm going to just send what I have lit, and that includes this page here that I've lit. So if you notice that now we've got light coming from behind, and there's some light coming from the right. So there's two light sources in these drawings. And these I didn't light because whenever I finish coloring this panel, I'm just going to copy and paste this background into the back of all of these. So I didn't see the reason why I should do anything with them. So this is lit. So this is what the lighting is going to be on this one, what the lighting is going to be on this one, and what the lighting is going to be on this one. And for some reason, I don't understand why, this is white and this isn't, and I don't know what's going on with that. Okay, so I have been drawing a lot in my sketchbook, and in my sketchbook I've been doing a lot of experimentation. So I'm going to talk about this, the experimentation first. So last month, you saw me starting to experiment a little bit with pens and line work, and trying to get a hatching style, the hatching style done. And all of this is an experimentation in order to get some finished pieces to send to patrons. And by finished pieces, I mean something that isn't a postcard, something a little bit more substantial, something bigger. And patrons are going to be getting some original art from me. But I wanted to hone in the look of that artwork that I wanted to do. So all of this time I've been just looking and searching and finding and playing and experimenting with what I want. So last month, I did a lot of hatching. This month, I combined the hatching with watercolor. And this is what the experiment came from. So there's two things that I wanted to do. One was I wanted to do lost edges, which means that, for example, the hair in here, the clothes in here, and the hair, they all disappear into the black, and the mid-tone is what tends to appear and what tends to be rendered or have more detail. That was the idea. And I wanted to have it be in color, and I wanted to, so it was all big experiment. And I also wanted to combine a value with like the watercolor kind of value but at the same time I wanted to have lines in it. I wanted it to be linear. I wanted the hatching to be visible. So a lot of experimentation. These were some of the experiments that I did searching for what I was looking for. And they were helpful. None of these things were what I was looking for, but they were helpful. So here is one of the very first times that I thought that I had reached the type of technique, because this is what I was looking for. I was looking for a technique, the technique that I was looking for. And in here I used a pen, you know, one of those with all the colors, so you can see all the colors of the pen here. So I used that in combination with watercolor, in combination with a liner pen, with a Micron pen, in combination with my Pentel Pocket brush pen, where I put the ink in here, and on top of that I added, there's white gouache in here, and right here you could see the white gouache that I used to pop things out. So it was a combination of watercolor and all kinds of stuff, and this is the technique that I thought I wanted to go with. On top of that, I discovered that I really, really enjoyed drawing the anatomy on this lady. I liked the muscles. I wanted to draw the muscles, and I apparently I missed drawing muscles. So this was not only kind of hitting upon the technique that I wanted, maybe not the final look that I'm looking for, but the technique that I wanted, but also the subject matter that I may start be going toward, meaning the subject matter will probably be a little bit more on the fitness side, something that requires the subject to be fit, and at the same time an empowering picture, something that makes you that motivates you to be stronger, to maybe get fit, to think about being strong and healthy rather than just skinny. And then here, this was just an experiment using the pens. I don't know how successful it is, but the whole idea behind the sketchbook is just to play around and mess around. So here's another experiment that I did using the technique that I wanted, and this time the experiment was, because in this I started with orange up here, and slowly the gradient, I added a gradient here. It went to green. With this one, I started with green and went down to orange, and she looks like a weird zombie lady. But again, it was an experiment with just not only the watercolor and the look and the technique. It was a technique experimentation, but it was also a color experimentation to see what would happen if I just messed around with the color. And finally, I believe this is the final drawing. Yes, this is an experiment. This is like my final experimentation, having learned from the last 2 or 3 pages. This is the technique, going full on with the technique. The difference between that I did here and here was that I mapped out all the values. I mapped out the dark and light tones using a pen, and so that was like my guide, so I knew where to put the darkest areas and the lightest areas. So when I did the gradient, which again is from, I believe it's actually yellow, orange, blue, green, something like that. I knew where I was going to put the darks, the darker areas. Let's see if I could zoom in into this, so you could understand a little bit more of what I'm trying to say. So you can see that there is some pen in here, and then okay, so I did the gradation, And then this area was actually lined out with a pen. And then I went in with a darker value in watercolor. And so that's how I did this stuff, is a darker value in watercolor. And after I had done all the value that I wanted to do, I actually went back in with the ballpoint pen and added the hatching technique on top of that. And then I went back in with the white gouache and I popped some of these highlights and put some white back in. And in watercolor, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to leave the white and just paint the midtones and darker. I didn't want to do that because I wanted the white to actually have hatching. I wanted the white to be hatched, like used lines, so it has a line look, a linear look. And so in here I did some hatching shading myself, but with different colors, somewhat matching the colors I used in the watercolor. And the idea, whenever you're doing any kind of value in color, is that the color almost doesn't matter. Sometimes it does, but for the most part it doesn't matter. Like for example here, the colors, I put red and I put blue here, and there's red and oranges and greens and all kinds of different colors, and it still looks like it's got value. And the reason why it doesn't, the color doesn't matter is because the only thing that matters is the value. The value has to be darker or lighter. It still has to be grays, dark grays, light grays. So me using green here, which is what I used, and green in weird spots, including green in the pen, still looks okay because it's a darker value than the orange. So as long as it's a darker value, it almost doesn't matter. So this is the technique that I ended up deciding on, that I'm going to start using. It may not be the final look of the character designs, because that right now is something that I'm working with and I'm playing around with now. So that's going to be, you're going to see in my sketchbook, there's going to be a lot of experimentation in style of character, but the technique is what I'm going to be using is here. So there's still a lot of experimentation going on, but I think that now at least I got a technique down that I want. And the result is this. So this is this month's postcard. Here it is. I don't know why it's so red here in this. It's not that red. But it's coming out very red, at least in my monitor. And this is the technique in full steam. So I did everything that I did in the previous sketch, but I did it slower. I did it more methodically. I was paying attention a little bit more to what I was doing. And so here it is, and you can, and if you zoom in, you can see the technique in here. Again, so here's the white gouache making the hatching. Here's some dark line art with the pen. There's some pen right here, but all of this started off as a watercolor wash, but it was very clearly mapped out where I was going to put the shadows, where I was going to put the light. And you can see some of the shapes that I used here, and I did it with orange. So you can sort of right here, this, for example, here is a shape. And then I would use those shapes to guide me on where I would put the watercolor. So you could see here's this dark shape here. I didn't go as dark as I could have, but you can see that I later went in and did some green line hatching and some orange line hatching here. So a lot of different colors, a little bit of purple in here. So lots of experimentation, and even in here, just to make it look more unique and add more interest. But this is the technique, and this is the final look. I really like the way it turned out. I'm happy with it. So now it's just a matter of experimenting with the actual design of the characters that I'm going to be doing, and the poses and the type of message I'm going to be trying to say or send with the drawings. And so the postcard for this month, by the way, whoever the person who won it is the patron who won it, I should say, is Eric Presteman. Eric Presteman, congratulations, you won the postcard, this postcard this month. Everybody else on Patreon will get a digital copy as a reward, and Eric will get the physical copy. So those are the rewards for this month. It may seem like there wasn't a whole lot, but this stuff took forever. And these sketches, some of them took more than a day to sketch out, because I was doing it in a couple of days as I went, trying to solve the problem of the technique I wanted to use. And I am currently coloring this, so hopefully by next month I'll be done with this comic. It's taken me 4 months to do this comic so far. It's too long. I have to speed up the process. It's just too ridiculous. There's like a gnat flying around in my face. And that's this month's rewards. Thank you so much for your patronage. It means a lot. And now patrons will definitely start getting their original art. The more you've supported me, the more original art you're going to receive. Like I said, this month I'm actually in the process of sketching out and working on the very first piece. Now that I've solved the technique that I wanted to use, I am now implementing it. So I am doing a final piece for the first patron that will be receiving an large original piece. So and thank you for the support that you've been giving me over the years. All right, that's it from me, and I will talk to you next time. All right, bye.